another of Stepping into the Light with Leslie Kuster today. Thank you, Leslie, for being flexible with me because we were booked and then we had to reschedule, and you're finally here at the
Yes,
perfect time. Yes.
perfect, perfect. I love being in the light. So I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And so Leslie's gonna make us dream. So you see behind her, she not only has a book, but she has an amazing story. And what? Now I know how I connected with you.
Ah,
And yes, it's through Joanne. And here's my story. And we could start there before you introduce, as you're gonna be introducing yourself. Um, I heard you. We were introducing ourselves in a Facebook group, and you said something around that the fact that you went to Bali, live in Bali, and then you were done with this, you were back, but your life has completely flipped and your revenue in your business has completely flipped. Something has flipped, and the
yeah.
way you were sharing this, I was like, I want to know more about this woman. And then you interviewed me on your show, and then I got your book. I'm still reading it, but today we're going to be talking about this journey, because I think you're a beautiful testimony to the fact that you're never too old, you're never too late, you're never not
Yeah.
enough to do the things you want to do. And I hear that a lot. And I saw that in your book too. That's kind of your message as well.
Mhm.
So tell us first where you're talking from, and then who you serve, and what is your business. And I know you have a few businesses, so go for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Well, first of all, I am in sunny Florida right now, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's so hot here in the summer. So right now, I'm like celebrating, the fresh air and being outside without dying of the heat. So it's really nice. We did. I'll just continue on what you said of how we met.
Yes, please.
Actually, because what it was, I think it was back, it was almost a year ago. And I think it was back in like a Christmas holiday time when, everyone feels a little vulnerable. And we're actually coming up to that again.
Yeah.
And I was feeling very vulnerable at that time because we had made such a giant move. I'm American and I'm from New York, but about 20 years ago, I moved to Switzerland to live with my husband to be, who's still my husband. And we had just returned from Switzerland after 20 years of living there back to the United States. So it was absolutely like a huge move. Like we went from, I had a husband with a job, I had a beautiful apartment, I had friends, I had a whole life. Everything was easy and good. And I kind of like pushed it over the edge and just changed everything. And that is kind of who I am. So when I'm feeling this dissatisfaction or feeling like we could be doing more, having more, or wanting more, I try to really follow those impulses. And that's where you and I met on a day where I was feeling kind of really sad and lost because of all of it. Because the truth is, when you do get out of your comfort zone and you do something kind of radical like we did, it's not always easy.
Yeah, and I remember you were not even in Florida yet. I think you were in another place that I have one of my coach over there, and you were like, you were expressing, I'm alone, like I don't know, like what do we do?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what is your business, Leslie, and what are your businesses? Because I know you have different angles
Yeah.
that are like it's fascinating. So if you don't mind to share, let us know more about what you do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I have a business called Back from Bali, and I manufacture beautiful women's clothes in Bali, Indonesia. And yes, I get to go to Bali for business and for my life. And the business, I absolutely love it, but it wasn't always successful. So I started it a very long time ago. Different products I tried like 30 years ago, and then other products like 20 years ago. But around about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I decided that I am so sick and tired of not being successful in my own definition, and not having like the freedom of the level of money that I wanted to have, that I made a decision. It was in my early 50s at the time, that enough is enough, and I'm not waking up on my next birthday without doing over 100,000 a year, which is what I wasn't doing at that time. Even after having years and years and years and years and years of having a business, I never went over that six-figure mark to 100,000 in revenue. I'm not talking about in my pocket. And I just decided that was going to change, and it did. And because of the things I did, the actions I took, the mindset changes I had, I was able to bring that business from 5 figures to multiple 7 figures, which is where it is now.
Congratulations. And this is why I'm so excited to have you here, because you are the messenger. You were there, and your book speaks to that, right? So the shifts that happened for you. And I just want to go back, just so I don't know where the stats are, but I think still currently, I think it's less than 25% of women entrepreneurs that hit the six-figure revenue every year. Most businesses are, I think, below 25K a month or something like that, 25K a year.
Yep.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to really have this conversation, because you're very transparent about it. Because we are talking to all of you here, when you, even if you watch the replay, like everything is possible. And that's my story too. I thought I would never get to the six-figure thing. Like, what is that thing that everybody says you got to go there before you do your seven? And you're like, how is it even possible for me? Right? So, what is the one thing you want to share? And I'm kind of bending my questions here because it's so juicy what you just said. What is the one thing you want us to know today for someone who's still not hit the six-figure mark?
Yeah. That it, as you said before too, it's all possible. And I didn't think it was possible, which is why it wasn't possible. So it's really about your mindset. And in the end, it boils down to many different things, and many different things you have to do, but it really boils down to mindset. And I know we hear this over and over and over again, and we're like, we're sick of that word, and what the hell does it mean anyway? Right? And all that kind of stuff. But what I mean by that is, when I made that decision, and it was a very specific moment in time, it was not like it came gradually. I was sitting in our apartment in Hundwangen, Switzerland, kind of a little dumpy apartment, and cute though. And I just knew that everything, it had to change. And the main thing was, I had been in the mindset that somebody else was supposed to give me the money, that my husband was supposed to give me the money. My father before that was supposed to give me the money, that it wasn't really my responsibility. I mean, sure, I worked, and I worked really hard, by the way. I worked very, very hard, but I never thought in my mind that I was the kind of person that could, buy a $1 million home, or the kind of person that could have a $1 million business. I didn't see myself in that way, because I saw myself in a much more, like, I was a free spirit, and that was more important to me, and I was spiritual. all this crap, basically. My head was filled with all this crap. And once I decided, I actually want money, and let's be really honest about it. It's not just that I want a successful business, or, that my revenue grows. I actually want money in my pocket. That's what I want. I want control over my life. I want independence. I want to be able to buy my own damn home if that's what I wanted, or $800 pair of shoes if that's what I wanted, or contribute to the world if that's what I wanted. And I wanted control. And I became honest with myself. So when you ask the question, what is the most important? The first is to be honest with yourself about what it is you really, really, really want.
Oof, I have shivers along my spine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is crucial, because most people don't have the courage to actually answer their question. and be honest about it, because the answer could be really different. It could be like, I don't really want to work that hard, I really don't. That's not really what I want. Or the answer could be, I want to make a damn amount of money and I don't care what happens. This is what I want. Everybody has a different answer, but we often are not honest about what that answer really is. So once you have the answer to what it is that you really, really, really want in your life, and I want to just say one other important thing about wanting is that I realize it's a hard thing to answer sometimes. What do you want? Because you could say, I want a red car. I want a new wardrobe. I want a new husband. I want to move to a new town. Like, where does it end? So, what I realized is the answer to the question, what do you really, really want? Is you have to actually start with the question, what is it that you really, really, really yearn for? Because yearning is actually the deeper reason behind the wanting. So, for example, you want a red car. Well, actually, maybe you yearn to be seen because you feel so invisible these days. Or you yearn for, or you want a new relationship, a new husband, whatever, but you actually are yearning for more love in your life, more attention in your life. So that there's the things we want are really the outside stuff. The things that we yearn for is really the inside stuff. So back to me wanting money, I yearned for empowerment and independence. And that was my deepest yearning.
That's beautiful. Talking about inner visibility. So, how do you know that you are honest with yourself when you start to dig like this?
I think we all know when we are finally honest with ourselves, and it's often a different answer than we thought it was supposed to be. We often use our head to answer the question for us, like, what is it that I really want? Well, okay, I want to be healthy. I want to be in a good relationship. I want to have enough money. Okay, so it's so incredibly general. But when we really God, strike that inner chord. Maybe it embarrasses you, Maybe it's the opposite answer of what your head is telling you it's supposed to be. When that's called honesty, right? When it's really something that maybe people can't really relate to it. Like I remember when I started talking about money, because I talk about it, and I encourage women to talk about it, because that's the only way you're going to make any. I mean, let's face it, that's it. You don't talk about it, you don't focus on it, you don't figure it out, you don't know what an income statement is and what net profit is. Well, guess what? You're never actually going to have it. So I talk about it a lot because that's the way to basically have it. But that pushed a lot of buttons for people. All right. So when we're honest and we talk about things that we really want that might seem not acceptable in some ways, that could also put you and people and women in particular in a uncomfortable situation.
This is extraordinary, Leslie, because could you bring us to, if you remember, the very first time you started to be very vocal about it, and maybe the first time you said those words in a public or more open environment. Do you remember when it was, and you're like, what am I saying? Because it was so unfamiliar to you, but you were ready for it?
I love this question. There were two situations. Can I share both?
Yes.
The first was I was in a private Facebook group with other people who have businesses like mine. And at the end of the year, like the mastermind teacher of it asked us to post our revenue. All right. So at that time, my revenue had just hit 400,000, which was like, I mean, thrilling to me. I never, ever dreamed I could even get over 200. It was way beyond my wildest thoughts. So I posted it. And as I posted it, I realized I posted it to my public Facebook profile and not to the private group. And I was panicked, and I immediately took it down and deleted it, but not fast enough because a friend of mine saw it already and he wrote to me, like, congratulations. And I said to him, promise me you won't tell anybody. That was my first experience with.
Holy moly, Leslie.
Yeah. So I was ashamed, honestly. I was
Wow.
embarrassed and I was ashamed, and I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't want them to think of me differently. That's why. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you'll share the second one. I cannot wait. Because this is like the universe showing you, okay, you want to go, let's go right away. Let's go. Let's go.
I love that. That's right. It's like, you're not going to share publicly. Well, guess what? I'm going to do it for you. Right?
Oh, it's so funny. And I can just imagine. And I love that you say, when we say fear of success, all those shame are not just about things that we don't want people to know that are like considered less honorable than making money, right? But even that, you were like, if you remember to feel that shame of saying the big number. I love this that you share this because
Yeah,
the shame is never really far from whatever we do in life. As soon as it's time for you to show up in a different way, there is that voice that will always start to be loud. And then, yeah, and then this is when the mindset kicks in, right? Because if you know how your mind and your body works, you don't let that voice stop you.
that's right.
Right?
Exactly. And you're right. There is shame involved in it. And that's also why, women in particular stop and don't go forward.
So what is the second story?
The second one's a doozy. So when I did hit my first million, I decided I'm going public about it. All right. And I wrote on my public Facebook profile that I just hit 7 figures. All right. Because I decided that's it. I'm going vocal about this. Well, a few days later, my husband Heinz went out to dinner with his best friend. And his best friend said to him, who's a guy, said, I don't know if I should say this to you, but I saw Leslie's post and I have to tell you, I was shocked. I didn't think she was that kind of person. And I am forever grateful to this friend for saying that. So I can give a real life example on shows like yours and tell other people that this is why there's shame around women making money. This is why we don't make. I think we make something like you said, 25% only do over 100,000. And a statistic I read is something like men do 4 times that, 4 times that. And they do because they are encouraged to be successful, where women like us, when we say it publicly, are actually put down and shamed for it. So I just really liked that this happened. So so it's out in the open that this is what could happen. But it didn't stop me. And it's just given me fantastic material. And it's just a great example.
I love both examples. Thank you for sharing because what can we do about this?
Just keep going. That's all. It's just keep going and feeling proud. I feel when he said that, it didn't even slightly affect me in any negative way. I just was like, wow, this is what women are up against, over and over again. Um, I have a mentor, Brooke Castillo. I call them super coaches. Do you know her?
Yes, I know her. I like her.
I think she does like 75 million a year, something crazy like that. And she's always talking about it. And in one of her podcasts, which was about money, she expressed how many women reach out to her and say things like, would you please stop talking about money? It's not realistic. And why do you talk so much about money and all these things? And she often also talks about this is why we have to talk about it so we can get over it. And listen, again, it's not really about the money, all right? It's about stepping into one's own power, independence, and and living the life that we want to live because we can. And that is what I discovered in this change from how things, were before to after, is that my life has become, I mean, honestly, magical. I was saying it the other day. My life is amazing these days. And before, I used to think it would be one or the other. It's either like amazing because I have a lot of free time, but I don't have that much, I can't do that many things. It was like one or the two. And what I discovered is you could just put an and between those two, you know? And it's really possible. I did this huge change in my life in my 50s. I wasn't 20, I wasn't 30, I wasn't 40, I was in my 50s. And a lot of people at their 50s think it's too late or they're too old or God knows what. I had no IT experience. My business is e-commerce. Okay. This is an online business. It's very technical. I had no experience in any of this, none. I sell women's clothing. I'm not even a designer, okay? It's all possible, but you need to know what you want. And once you know what you want, it can absolutely happen. There's no reason why it can't, except you.
Yes. So, Leslie, would you share one applicable way of, if someone is listening right now and they're like, okay, today I'm going to practice, what do I really want? What do I really yearn and desire inside of me? What is there something you would teach us or recommend us to do to start connecting to that?
You know, I really believe in taking action. This is truly, I think, the most important part, because if we spend too much time like thinking about it, praying about it, walking about it, or talking about it or stuff like that, we kind of keeps going in a vicious cycle. And so when you're feeling like, I don't know if I can do it, or any of those kind of negative thoughts and things like that, even though, yes, it's so important to sit down with your paper and figure out what it is you really, really want, but it's equally important that you take action on something that day, because it's action and doing something that gives us more of the fuel to keep going. And so being kind of organized and, having kind of your to-do lists, if that's how you work, or you schedule it into your calendar, which is how I work, and actually taking action each day is the one thing that's going to build your confidence, because you can't build your confidence just with your head. You can't build your confidence just only with your mindset. It has to work together. What you want, where you're going, and then taking the action for it.
I love it. Did you change as you were growing, your business, but also how you see yourself and how now you see your influence online with your book and everything? Did you change what you were desiring? Did that change?
I know your whole topic is on visibility, right? And so my experience with visibility was kind of painful because I felt so invisible. I had my business, I was proud of my business, I was building my business, but my business means I'm behind my computer just doing my stuff and nobody's really seeing me. And I just also have always had a really strong desire to inspire, to teach, to share. I have a master's degree in clinical social work and spirituality. I'm just interested in human potential and growth. But I felt like no one ever saw me and nobody knew about this side of me. And so that was my yearning. That was my pain point. I felt really, really, really invisible. And I felt I had all this stuff I wanted to share. And that is why I wrote my book. So that's where the invisibility and the visibility started to happen. Was I wrote the book, which, as you know, is a very invisible experience until you need to put your book out there.
Yes.
Right? And now that invisible experience, it turns into a extremely visible experience. So that has been interesting for me. I sell products. I sell women's clothing back from Bali. on Amazon mostly. So my face is not involved in any of this. When you start to want to promote a book or start a coaching business, whatever, it's you that you're selling, right? And you have to become visible. And that is really scary.
Yeah. What did you find the most scary in that type of visibility?
Doing my first video that I was going to post. That was just, I think I re recorded it like 10 times. Honestly, just doing a video that was pre recorded and putting it up, I thought was absolutely terrifying because you think, like, what do I look like? You know, who am I to do this? Do I have anything to say? Is anybody even going to see it anyway? All of those things, and it's so damn frightening to start. I took a course which was really helpful. I took a course on how to do videos basically, and how to put it up on social media and all of that, and that was incredibly helpful. And that's an example of action taking. So I was really scared to be visible, petrified. I could do all the mindset work I could do on that. Don't be scared, you're good, whatever. But I actually signed up and took action and took a course. And that was what got me going and taught me the skills to do it. And now I have my own live stream show called She Rises. And now I go live just like you. We're live right now. Something, 2 years ago, I could never, ever do go live.
Yeah, like this is a beautiful journey. Like, look at you, you're always live now, interviewing everybody, and like, so wow, I love, love, love this. What type of conversation do you find your book allowed you to have with your audience? Did it change your relationship with whether your online audience or maybe even your own network?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any audience when I started with the book. I hadn't, as a, it's called a platform, right? So when you want to publish a book, publishers, whatever, ask you, well, what's your platform? Meaning, how many followers do you basically have? How big is your email list? I didn't have any of that. So I had it with Back from Bali. I had a social media, I had an email list. But for me, Leslie Kuster, I had absolutely nothing. So putting those videos up on social media, creating a newsletter, an email list was all completely new to me. We're talking about 2 years, which is not a long time. So I'm still learning this and doing it and experiencing it with everybody else who's doing this.
Well, you're doing amazing. Like watching from outside, like I feel that you are enjoying yourself. Each time I see you on, like, I think your perspective on the learning curve that it requires to become a successful business owner and really, earn the revenue that you desire and show up the way you want to show up. It takes a lot of courage, but also a lot of smiles.
Yeah, I mean, funny, just I had a conversation this morning with a friend. She called me up and she was like, I do all this. I mean, I write some amazing articles. I do this, I do keynotes, I do all kinds of stuff, and I'm not getting the acknowledgement that I want and all that. And I was thinking yesterday the same thing. Like, I do this and I do this and I do this, and is anybody even noticing whatsoever? Do they even care? And I asked myself this question, and I think it's a good one to ask. And I shared this with my friend this morning. I asked myself, am I enjoying doing this? Am I enjoying doing my live stream? Am I enjoying putting things up on social media? And the answer immediately was yes. I actually really enjoy doing it. I think
Yeah.
it's fun. And hopefully, I am reaching other people as well. I don't know if I am. We never really know. We really don't know. I mean, there are people who get lots of responses and things like that, but we don't really know who we're reaching. But I really think that that's the important question to ask yourself: is, are you enjoying it? And are you? I'm someone who wants to give and share. And if I shut this down, I wouldn't have a place to do it. And that's why I'm doing it, and hopefully I could reach people too.
I, I love that yeah, because sometimes, in the depth of the valley in that journey, sometimes what I kind of invite myself to do is imagine what if I stop everything and no more of anything you do? And then I just try to imagine, and it kills me. I'm like, no way. Like, I couldn't. I enjoy so much what I do. I'm like you, and I want to share something, Leslie, that I know we never really know who's watching, but there is always someone watching. Always. Don't have any doubt on this. Never. Okay.
Right. We need to hear these things. We're human, right? And you do something, you want some kind of, I really believe that the biggest human emotion is to be seen, right? To be that you're valued, that there's a reason why you exist, basically.
Yes.
That's what we're all struggling for and want.
Yes, and building a presence online, and it's a long game thing, right? So we always talk in my world of a digital footprint. So that, and then at some point everything stacks together, and when you hit that moment where there is a momentum, then people can refer to your old trail since 2 years ago,
Mm.
right? And so it's never the post, the video, it's the stacking of everything that makes everything work. When the momentum, when you're ready to receive it, it's there's that story too, right? Are you ready to be seen that way, right? And
Yeah.
I find that this to be true all the time. Like, it always happen when you're ready, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm glad I did all of this, because now if you check me out, they can see all the interviews you've done. They can see how you promoted your book. They can see the invitation you make, and it's a full global presence, and that makes you show up with credibility.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. And that applies. I love that you said it because it applies to business and building business too. It's not actually the one thing that you do this week or this day that builds it up. It's a lot of very small micro steps or very small posts that you do. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and that you keep doing it and you keep doing it. And that's how I like to talk about it, as pumping the water. Like, if you have an image of an old fashioned water pump that, you go down and
Yeah. Yes.
you have to
Yes.
pump and pump and pump and pump. And it takes, nothing happens at first. You just pump and you literally have nothing. And then comes maybe a dribble, right? And then comes a stream, and then comes the water gushing. And
So good.
that is business. All right, whether you're building a social media platform, whether you're building your business, whatever you're building, it's the frustration comes is because in those moments when we're pumping and we see absolutely no results of it, you're doing all this work and you see nothing. That is the time that's what divides the women, right? That divides the successful woman and the unsuccessful woman. All right, because
Yeah.
the successful one does it anyway, whether she sees results or not. And there's no way you won't see those results over time if you keep going. I mean, perseverance has to be one of the main reasons for success,
Yes. I
right?
call this in my TEDx when I did. So I talk exactly about that phase.
TEDx will
Yes.
happen.
So when nothing happens and you've been doing all the freaking thing,
Yeah.
right? I call it the quiet season syndrome.
Ah,
And
I love that.
a
Yeah.
lot of people gonna choose to leave the boat, when in
Hmm.
fact I now I know, after 12 years or building that boat, that it's usually the calm before the storm, before the next surge. But
Yeah.
you have to have the courage and the guts to stay there and keep on track and keep taking those action you were saying, action after action after action on.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. And you said you're at 12 years now, so you have history. This is something else that's really important. When you're at the beginning, you don't have history, right? So you don't have well, it did work out, so I think it will work out. And this is why it's so crucial to keep pumping that water. when you start to have history in your business, you're at 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I'm not in this particular product line. Let's say I'm at 14 years or 15 years or so now. I actually have history, and that history is so helpful because I happen, when things get tough, which they do really, really tough. All right.
News flash.
Like really hard. All right. I have the history to know that I've been doing this for the last 15 years, and that because of my like perseverance and my ability to find, to solve problems and get help as I need it, because of I know myself in this way, I know it will be okay.
Leslie, that I think we could talk, you and I, for the full night. I think it was the same when I was on your show.
I
Like,
think
I don't know. We love talking together.
you
But I
do.
want to ask you a question. So looking back, I always like to ask this question. If you were talking to your, your younger self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her regarding being honest and visible to herself and to others?
I would tell her that she really is what I want her to be. And I didn't really know that that was even a choice, to tell you the truth. I thought I was what I was, and this is my mindset, and these are my beliefs that I got from my parents, whatever, and this is who I was. I would tell myself that I actually can be something different and something more, and dream much bigger, because I didn't dream big for a really long time. And I didn't even know dreaming big was something that I would even be capable of. So that is what I would tell myself. You actually can dream big, and so much bigger than you think you can.
Nothing else to add.
Yeah.
So, how do we get your book?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So just Amazon is the absolute best place to get my book. Just go to Amazon, Seven Keys to Seven Figures. Also go to my website, which is my name, lesliekuster.com. And there you can get my free resource list, which has like my favorite podcasts and my favorite books and even coaches and investments. So it's a resource list for you. So definitely check out.
Oh, Leslie, you're gone. We're gonna reconnect. We lost Leslie. Leslie, come back to us. Hmm. Okay, we'll wait for a few minutes. I hope you're okay. But just to, as we wait for Leslie to come back, I will put her links in the description and in the comments of the videos, wherever you're watching right now. There will be the links added so that you can grab her book and fill yourself with her inspiration, because she is an inspiration and she's a beautiful success story of what it is to become a woman entrepreneurs who is really, you know, ready to take actions. Oh, I think Leslie's back.
I'm
Yay!
back. It just shut down, but we are back. Yay.
We don't stop.
We don't stop. We keep going. Okay, that's what we have to do. Keep going. Keep dreaming.
So I was telling that I will put all your links so that we can grab your book and your website and everything. But I want to thank you so much, Leslie, for sharing like a real personal stories that shows how it works when you're alone in your apartment and you do those actions that are gonna change your life. And when you do that, you don't know if they're gonna change your life. You just bet on yourself and you do it. And
You
I
just do it.
love your message so much. So
Thank
you
you.
are an inspiration for me. And each time we talk, I'm very excited. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I what I do. Like, and hang out with women entrepreneurs who are always bringing you up and up and up and seeing further and further and further. That's key. Like who we hang out with, whether it's online or in real life, is so important, right?
So
Because we have big things to do. We don't have time to go down. Okay. Thank you so much, Jessie. Anything you want to add since you came back? I want to give you the word of the finale.
the word. Okay, I'll just end it with this. A little sobering, but I think it's important. time, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. We don't have all the time in the world. You don't have all the time in the world. So use your time and make the life you want happen, because you can.
Thank you so much. Stay with me backstage. I want to properly greet you to go. Thank you, all of you. If you're watching the replay and you have questions, put them in the comments. Reach out to Leslie. Like, we are very approachable. Like, so approach us. We are here to build a community and inspire each other and make money together. Okay, and we talk about it.
Love it.
Okay.